Thank you for joining me from Portugal. Tell me a little bit, for those who don't know you, tell me about yourself. Tell me about, who you are and how you came to be this great yoga and yoga philosophy and yoga therapy teacher.
Basically, I'm a yoga teacher and yoga therapist, but these days I mostly run my non-profit organization, which is called Kaden. And so I manage this, and I do most of my teaching today is actually online because I live in Portugal and all the activities in Israel. But fortunately, we have a lot of teachers that studied with me along the years, and now they do all the activities in Israel, which is wonderful. I cannot say I'm so much a yoga teacher today, but I still do a little bit of teaching. And yeah, I grew up, mostly interested in this, in the things that are not the maybe obvious things of life, always asking questions. And I've been traveling a lot, and I eventually ended up familiar with the yoga and then yoga therapy, and this is how I developed into this world.
Yeah, I read that even as a child, you say you kind of realized that what you were looking for in life was, self realization, and that that's something you even, realized as a child. And then I read that you traveled alone in the Himalayas for a while in your 20s, I believe, and that yeah, that was very eye-opening. And since then, you continued studying and eventually teaching. I just want to kind of dive straight in here. This podcast is about the kind of internal battles that we are all fighting within ourselves, within our own psyche, alongside the external battles, the external wars, specifically, October 7th and everything that's happened since. But it's kind of like it's an extreme example of modern world, which is in many ways very violent. And so I think, even before then we were battling many things. For the person who's not a yogi or a lifelong meditator, how do the principles and the teachings that you've kind of acquired in your life and that you share with people around you, and your organization serves many, many people, how can it serve the kind of average person?
It's interesting you talk about the battles we have because as a child, as when I was young, and as an adult, like young adult, I was also battling a lot my mind, and I remember how much suffering there was there, with all the thoughts and the feelings and not knowing what to do with them. And the most interesting thing about yoga, eventually, that it teaches us the nature of these thoughts and feelings and all the mind patterns. And when we understand the nature of things, then this battle stops because we understand there is nothing to battle, nothing to fight against. That actually our mind is a wonderful instrument that is only there to help us, and we understand the difference between what we don't choose, like all the thoughts and the feelings that come spontaneous, and what we can choose, like how to use our mind with a purpose. And I think this is a very simple thing to understand and doesn't require lots of years of meditation or going to an ashram or something like this, because it's all the suffering and all this inner battle that we have is only caused because we don't have very correct knowledge about the nature of the mind, about the nature of feelings and thoughts. And the moment we acquire a little bit more correct knowledge, then we understand there is nothing to fight. So it's a very easy way, very simple. And this is why, and I can say from my own experience, that people can come for one lesson and it can change something very deep in them only by understanding that what they thought about the thoughts and the feelings so far is incorrect, and they learn something new. Or in a short seminar of 3 days, you can already understand how to work with the mind, and then all this inner struggle just vanishes. and we get tools how to use the mind in such a nice way.
So you know, 3 days is short to change the way we perceive our mind, but you know, I'm going to challenge you and suggest that
Mm.
you take 5 minutes to share. You know, what would you say is the most important knowledge that you feel that people are missing when it comes to this kind of very difficult fight that a lot of us feel we're fighting a lot of the time?
So it's very easy in 5 minutes to take a challenge like this, and I can show you something very interesting about your mind if you want, which I think is the basic idea that we have to understand. And
Yeah,
this is
sure.
that there is something that we can always control in the mind. And this something is called our attention. And this is like a mental muscle that is always available for us to use when we need. And this is the key. And can I give you some instructions that you should,
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah? Okay, then you can see that you already have this ability. You don't even have to develop it. You already have it. Okay, so for example, move your attention to the ceiling. Can you do it?
Yeah, I'm looking at the ceiling.
Mm, good. Now move your attention to your feet. Okay, and then move your attention to your breath.
Yeah.
Can you do it? Yeah.
Yeah, I can feel my breath.
Yeah. And then move your attention to your the tongue in the mouth. Can you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it difficult to move your attention from one place to another?
No.
Did you need special instructions of how to do it?
No.
No. It's very interesting because I never met a person that said that it was difficult, and never met a person that said that he needed special instructions of how to do it. Everybody can do it like this. Take a child, he can do it, and take a very old person, he can do it also. And nobody needs instruction, and for no one it's difficult. Why? Because this is our very natural ability to control our attention. This is how we work with the mind. And now, when we understand this, we understand that this is the key thing that we have to understand, that we always have something that we control. And then, together with this, we have to understand all the things that we don't control.
Mhm.
And then, when we understand what we control and what we don't control, we can work with what we control. And we can just, not try to control things that are beyond our control. Do you know what is not in our control?
Do I know what's not in my control?
Yeah, in the mind, when we talk about the mind.
What's not in my control in the mind?
Do you control your feelings? Do you control your thoughts?
No, I don't really control my thoughts or my feelings. They're kind of
Mhm. Exactly.
conditioned.
Exactly. This is something very important to understand because we all the time fight our thoughts and our feelings, and we always try to change them. But actually, this is something that is beyond our control. For example, when somebody says something to you and you become upset or happy, you don't control it. This is a spontaneous feeling arises in you. It's you cannot decide to be happy or decide to be sad. And the same when we sit on the couch and we have all these random thoughts, we don't choose them. They just come up like this. So when we understand that it's not our choice what we feel, what we think, then it's not no there is no point in trying to control it or trying to change it. It is better to just understand this is beyond our control. This is part of the automatic way the mind works. And it is better to work with what is in our control. And what is in our control is the attention, just as
Mm.
we saw now. And then the most amazing thing happened because we realized that together with all the thoughts and the feeling that we have, and maybe we don't like them, but they are beyond our control, with all of them, we can still freely act in the world because the source of action is always attention. For example, now we are talking, we have to use attention to be able to talk with each other. And then if we want to make a cup of coffee, we have to use attention to make the cup of coffee. So attention is the beginning of every action we take. And then we can act freely together with everything we feel and think, but at least we can act, and the actions will decide our life afterwards, not the thoughts and the feelings.
Hmm. So Yeah, that's a lot of information to take in. It's simple in a
Sorry.
way and extreme, and the hardest thing in the world on the other hand, right? It's like where I put my attention. I can make a cup of coffee and put my attention on making the cup of coffee, or I can make the cup of coffee and not realize I'm making a cup of coffee and think about,
Mm.
all the terrible things that are happening in the world or whatever. I'm wondering, with all these tools that you have acquired over the last 20 years, did you find that you were able to kind of navigate the last year and 2, 3 months since the beginning of the war, since October 7th, um, with that kind of very healthy attention and awareness, that you're mentioning, without kind of being swept up in the feelings and the thoughts and ruminating and getting caught up in that kind of fight, flight, freeze mode and that survival mode that a lot of Israeli society is living in? Or did even you have moments where you lost the plot?
Because of this knowledge and the way I practice it in daily life, when October 7th happened, I was freely experiencing everything, all the shock and the fear and the whatever, yeah, was there. I let myself experience it with all the feelings and all the thoughts that come with this experience, because I knew that this is not my choice. It's not in under my control, and all of this is okay to feel. It's no problem to feel anxiety, no problem to feel depressed, no problem to feel fear from the future or whatever comes. Everything is okay, or anger or sadness, all the things that people experience. So on the one hand, I was okay with everything that I experienced, and then on the other hand, I was concentrating of doing the action that was needed, or the many actions that were needed. And then when we do these actions that are needed, maybe many times we think that it's only about being active, but no. Sometimes the action that is useful or needed is to stay in bed for 1 week and only watch the horrible videos and not do nothing. Why? Because this is the situation. So there is no point now to try and act outside in the world. Maybe it's better just to go in the bed and come out after a week. It's okay, to just stay with the feelings when something very dramatic happens. So for some time I was doing this, just watching all the videos, following the news. I was in Portugal, I was not in Israel, so it was a little bit different, of course, the experience. But I was doing this, and then after some time, when I said, okay, now it's time to act outside, then I started acting outside. And then, for example, I did useful things like starting a support group for all my students and doing things for the community, whatever I could. And in my organization, we started to do different activities to help whatever we could do. So on the one hand, the action was just to let the whole system process all this experience, and and when it was possible, then to act outside. And this is what I will always tell people: don't try to change the emotion or ignore it because you want to do useful action. Sometimes, if I don't know, if your heart is broken, you can go in the bed for 1 week, cry yourself out, and then when you're ready, go out to the world again. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very subtle. On the one hand, I think you're saying that there are no bad emotions. They're pleasant and unpleasant emotions, but they're not good or bad. They're all part of the full spectrum of this beautiful human ability to feel many things. And so you're saying, if what comes up, if we're living through something horrible, it makes sense for the feelings that come up to be grief and rage, and we have this very kind of Western tendency to push things away and to go watch a pleasant program, or to overeat, or whatever. Some people do drugs, or just to not feel those unpleasant feelings. So on the one hand, I think I understand that you're saying that it's not unhealthy. On the contrary, it's healthy to feel what it is that we're feeling. right. On the other hand, I know that, a lot of scientists and mental health experts and evolutionary scientists talk about this human negativity bias, which means that we have a tendency as humans, um, because of millions of years of evolution, when we had to be more focused on the threat than on the kind of, everyday pleasant experiences, that we have a tendency to kind of go back to the videos, go back to the horrible videos, go back to the horrible thoughts. How, what is it like? How could things have been different? And I think that's when maybe just feeling what we are feeling might start getting into trouble, because it's easy for, I think, a human to just get into that loop of negative thinking and rumination. And that's kind of what leads to anxiety, right? It's like I have all these feelings, I can't stop them, I have all these thoughts. So at which point do you say, okay, you have grief and fear, be with it, or bring your attention, because you're talking about our ability to control our attention. At what point do you say, bring your attention to your feet or to the ceiling or to the birds in the sky?
Our thoughts and feelings, they are like, how do you say, like in a lake that you have this, if you throw a stone and then you have all these
Ripples.
ripples. So they happen like this. A big event happens and then there are all these ripples. But after some time, even if you don't do nothing, this movement is slowly starting to subside until it becomes weaker and weaker. This is by nature. This is what will happen in a lake or a pool when you throw a stone. The same happens in our mind. When you meet a very stressful event, in the beginning, everything will explode inside you. There will be all the fear and the anger and the sadness, and everything will be very, very strong. But if you just wait and watch, and when we watch, we are aware, that these are movements in the mind, and we watch it. And we see the sadness, and we see the anger, and we see everything happening in the mind, and we keep watching. And if we watch it, we see many things, or we discover many things. For example, we see how it changes. How 1 minute it's fear, and then it's anger, and then it's sadness, and then it's not only one emotion or one thought. It's a lot of little waves there. And then if we continue watching, we will see that slowly it changes and become maybe weaker or subtle or like this. And then we will see maybe that in between also comes other things, because maybe I got a nice phone call from my friend, or some good news happened. And then there is a lot of different things happen in the mind. But as long as we are aware of what is happening, it doesn't take us to automatic actions that take us too deep down, like not to ever go out of the house again. Because we are aware, there is always like a stable ground that we stand on. But it's not that we are going to feel stable. We're not going to feel stable. We're going to feel all this movement in the mind. But we know that we are watching it. So we know that we are okay. But the mind is now very disturbed. So when it's very strong, we cannot act. We cannot do nothing. We cannot even move the attention. If you try to do it too soon, you will see that you cannot, because your mind goes back and back to the videos or to all these thoughts. So trying to do it with force, moving the attention now in the middle of all this mess, is it's not a good idea. It's better to wait a little bit. Do what you need to do, like what your automatic system wants to do, and then you will see that one day suddenly you can maybe go out of bed. Maybe you can go shower or do something else or watch something or call somebody. And when I say move the mind, move the attention, move it to an action, to do something in the world. This is first easier and more benefit, because you need to eventually act in the world. So go take care of your children, clean the house, do something like this. And then slowly, with all the mess in the mind, we can start to do the actions and get back to life. If we try to do it too early, we will be in a problem. But if we know that we need to wait, then we wait, and we are okay in this waiting. We don't lose it there. You understand?
Mm.
Mm.
I do, and at the same time, I know that when you're waiting there, for a lot of people and for myself included, it's sometimes very, very, very hard to be there and to
Mhm.
stay with it and to feel safe enough to stay with it. So I used to wake up in the middle of the night, 3 a.m., and kind of relive things and feel this huge wave of heart racing and anxiety and thoughts that I can't stop, and just this feeling of being caught in something. Um, so I think if you told me just be with it and just wait for it to pass, it might not be that easy because it is so uncomfortable, and because we have such a tendency to want to get rid at whatever cost of what is deeply uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And again, that comes back to this kind of conditioned society and generations of people telling us at any cost just get away from what's not comfortable. And so when something deeply uncomfortable happens, it's it's hard to be with it. How can the kind of someone be in that space of being in bed, not feeling absolutely disintegrated from being alone with very difficult emotions?
Two things about this. First, if you are in bed experiencing all this, the anxiety, heart racing, and you know that everything is okay, that this is very natural and everything is completely okay with you, and your system is acting completely normal as can be. This is perfect condition. If you know that this is good, does it change something?
I think let's go back a little bit. Just by way of example, I experienced trauma. I have post trauma. I might have PTSD. The thing that happens is that you feel that it's not okay. Something is happening when you're in those states, when you're alone and you have either flashbacks or your body is triggered and you don't know why and your heart is racing. There's this very deep terror that something is wrong, something is not okay, and it becomes very abstract. You can't really put your finger on what is not okay, but it's just becomes this very terrifying big monster. So of course, if I could believe that this is okay, this is my body just reacting to what happens and what happened, and thank you body, you're doing what you're supposed to do. I think it would help, but I think that I have a very strong conditioning against that again, because um it's hard to stay with what's uncomfortable. I'd rather go eat chocolate.
No problem. Eat chocolate. I never say don't eat because this will
No,
be a
I mean, it's
useful
the middle of
lecture.
the night, so I'm kind of, I want to sleep. I want to sleep. That's, for example, I want to sleep.
Yeah, but I will say if people didn't sleep for 1 month after the 7th of October, it's completely fine. Don't sleep, eat chocolate, watch Netflix. No problem. After 1 month, your system is going to be tired of this and you're going to be able to start to do other things. Nothing is wrong. But I want to go back to the beginning of our conversation. You asked me like what is the key ideas. So the key here is to understand that we have wrong knowledge when we say that these symptoms of what we call post trauma are bad and they are not good for our system. The yoga therapy says, on the contrary, all these symptoms just show how well our system works because we are supposed to have memories. Okay, the system, the human mind, holds memories. So if I have a memory of a place or a memory of a video I saw, and then I remember it in the middle of the night, it only means that the mind is working very good because it's supposed to store memories. So, what will be the memories? Whatever I'm exposed to. So, if I'm exposed to videos, this is what I'm going to see in my memory when the memory comes up. If I was in fighting in Gaza, then I'm going to have memories of the smell of and the bullets around and all the destruction around. This is what is going to be stored in my memories, and this is what is going to come up in the mind. So this is completely natural. If there was no memory and no remembering, I would say the mind is not working well. But as long as it brings up the memory, it's okay. And then, if the body can put the heart rate higher and blood pressure higher, or they change temperature and stuff, I say this is very much okay, because the body is supposed to do it when it has the memory of something bad or that threaten us. Then everything should be activated like this in the fear mechanism. This means that the body is working great and the mind and the body are working together wonderfully. So it's only about changing our knowledge. We were taught, the whole humanity was taught for so long, that many things that happen in the mind and in the body are wrong. For example, even when the body, if we are ill and the body raises the temperature, they say this is bad. But today we know that the body raises temperature when we are ill so it can fight the disease. So this is not something bad that the temperature goes higher. It's something actually very natural to the body. But so many things in the mind and in the body, we were taught that they are bad. But actually they are great. They show only that everything works very well. And then this is what we have to change, the knowledge. And if we change the knowledge, and it's not because I say, it's because we start to investigate in our mind, in our body, and we start to realize how the things work. And then our knowledge changes and we understand that all these activities of the mind and the body are very much okay. Then we can be in bed experiencing anxiety and to know this is okay. Just do what is needed then. And when we can, we act again in the world.
I think the word, I mean, I just have a suggestion for the word, maybe instead of knowledge is perception, or alongside it, you know, the perception of it as being good or bad, because it's, you know, the way we perceive things um, uh, really affects how we experience it. So I can imagine that for most people, if they're having, let's say, a panic attack, and they perceive it or they internalize it as something, this really sucks. This is highly unpleasant. I want it to go away, but it's normal. It's normal in this circumstance, with what just happened, with what I experienced, with my history, that I'm having a panic attack right now. Then it goes from this kind of, you know, what I told you that I experienced a lot, this kind of big, abstract, unknown, terrifying force that is wrong and that is bad and that is threatening you somehow, to just something that your body is going through for very understandable reasons. For me, you know, you mentioned looking at the ceiling, and this is a tool that, you know, I can't believe I only discovered like a year or two ago, but it's that, you know, when this used to happen to me, or sometimes still does in the middle of the night, to just notice objects that are around me. Because, you know, as you explained, we can control our attention. And I can choose to put my attention on the, oh no, oh no, oh no, my heart is racing. This is not going to stop. When am I going to sleep again? I'm going to have a terrible day tomorrow and I won't be able to take care of the kids. Or I can look at the air conditioner, you know, and say like, huh, you know, air conditioner. Or I can look at my hand, and suddenly the, you know, the place where I'm putting my attention changes. But how does that kind of square with what you're saying of, you know, just being with the feelings that are coming up? Because if what is coming up is anxiety, do I need to stay with the anxiety, or can it sometimes be wise to say, you know, I'm going to be focusing on something else?
Yeah. Okay, let me challenge you. Imagine you have this anxiety attack. Okay. And now imagine that you look at it and you see your heart racing and everything, and the thoughts coming and all these horrible feelings, and how you fight it and how you want it to go away and how you think there is something wrong with you and all of this. And now imagine that you continue watching it and then you say, oh, actually, this is very much okay. Okay? Do you still need to take your attention away from it? Imagine you doing it in bed when you wake up in 3 o'clock in the morning. What did I learn? I learned that this is how it works, the mind. This is how it works, the body. This is how they influence each other. This is very much okay. One of the things that we learn is that anxiety is only a result of the fact that we love things. We are anxious about the life of our children. We're anxious about the life of us, of ourselves. We are anxious about the life of our country, our people. We are anxious only about things that we care about. So if we want to stop being anxious in life, we have to stop caring about things. Is this possible? Of course not. So anxiety is the result of love. Okay? It's the result of the fact that we love and we care about things. So now imagine yourself again in bed, experiencing anxiety, looking at it and saying, "Oh, this is only because I love my children so much that I'm now so anxious. This is because I love my house and my country and myself and life itself that I'm so anxious." How do you feel now in bed?
I would start crying.
Crying in what way?
I think the tears would just come out, for this life inside that is suffering, for my suffering, for this world that is suffering.
Let me challenge you again. Why do you care about the suffering of the world? Why?
Yeah, because I think I care very
Yes,
much.
exactly. Because you love the world, because you love the life. And now imagine yourself in bed realizing this, that you suffer so much and you cry so much because you love life so much. What happens now? Just imagine.
Yeah, like I said, I think the tears would start streaming, Yeah, tinged with a smile.
With a smile. Exactly. Exactly. This is the little thing. Not because we try to change for a smile. It's because we realize the source of suffering, the source of anxiety, that it is all a result of the fact that we love. And we cannot take love out of our life. So we will always be anxious. We will always, yeah, we will always be sad when we see suffering because we love and we care. And then immediately it connects us to here, to our love. And now think of the action. The minute you realize you're only anxious because you love, what are you going to do next?
This is something that I'm sometimes embarrassed to talk about, but when I do get to that state where I have compassion for my suffering and for that of the world, I kind of feel where my body needs a sense of touch, and I might put, this all sounds very kind of gooey to a lot of people, but I will put a hand on my heart, or I will put a hand on my face, or yeah, I'll kind of give my arms a deep massage because I feel the tension that's in there, and I might actually get up in the middle of the night and go eat chocolate, and then hopefully brush my teeth again, and then go back to bed and tell myself it's okay. I ate the chocolate.
Yeah, you will start caring in your actions, if I can put it in other words. Because when you put a hand on your heart or on your face, it's because you want to treat them nicely. Or when you go eat chocolate, it's because you want to treat yourself nicely. But if you imagine yourself waking up in the morning, then how are you going to treat your children after you realized in the night that all your anxiety is because you love them so much? How are you going to treat your husband, or the people in your building? Are you going to do something different?
um, I'm just giving you all the right answers, and I feel like I should be giving you a wrong answer every now and then, but I think anybody would answer this correctly. I think I would wake up in the morning and I would hug my children and hug my husband, and yeah, really smile and kind of take them in.
This is exactly the thing, and all of us is the same. It's we have the same systems, so we can have wrong knowledge and then fight our anxiety and our feelings and our thoughts, all the uncomfortable ones, or we can bring more correct knowledge and then understand that all of this, what we feel, all our suffering, our sadness, our anxiety, is only because we love, and then we can connect to our love, and from there we can act. We cannot stop anxiety. We cannot stop memories. If we were in the battlefield, we are going to always remember it. But we can always connect to why we were there, why we suffer so much, because we want to be okay, because we care about other people, about our nation or whatever. And then from there we can act. And this is the choice we always have. We cannot choose what to feel, but we can choose what to connect to and how to act.
So we can say that whatever we're feeling and experiencing is okay and is normal, which is already, it's huge. If only we could feel that. On the other hand, I want to go back to that kind of negativity bias, that kind of conditioned automatic response that a lot of people have to go watch the news, to go see what's happening, even though we can't change it. So how do you kind of square that with good practices? Because I do think that in this life there is also an ability to practice things or to do things in a way that will be more conducive for us to be in that kind of compassionate heart space. And for example, being on social media or consuming a lot of news um, can be a practice that takes us away from good action, because ultimately, if I'm on social media, if I'm consuming, etc., I will act maybe from a place of aggression or mistrust. Whereas, I don't know, if I meditate, if I do yoga, if I do something nice for myself or someone else, I might act from a more loving place. So, do you also tell people, what to try not to do or to do?
Okay, I want to distinguish between two situations. One, a case of emergency, and one, the daily life. Because in case of emergency, like we had after the 7th of October, I would tell people, be on the news for 1 month. Nothing will happen. It's unavoidable to want to know everything. Let yourself do it. Don't struggle with it. If this is what you want to do, do it. After some time, your system is going to get tired of it anyway. And then slowly you can go back to daily life and start to do more useful action. But like if a person lost somebody and now you're grieving, it's no point now trying to do meditation or going back to practice one day after you buried your loved one. Stay in bed for 1 month. Stay in bed for 6 months. Nothing will happen. Afterwards, go back to life. No, but let the system first digest the things of the unnatural or the, very difficult things that happen. I will say the same even for if you broke up with your boyfriend and you are very upset. Stay in bed for 1 week. It's okay. Cry your heart out. It's okay. Nothing will happen. Then we go back. So this is emergency. But in the daily life, of course, there is a lot of importance to which actions we do and how we navigate through the different actions that we like. And I always say that we have to work with our mind like it's a little child. And the little child, you cannot only demand things from the child. You demand, but you also have to give treats. And then you have cooperation. It's the same for a 3-year-old and a 90-year-old. The mind doesn't change. It's always like a little child because it always say, I want this, I don't want this. I want this, I don't want this. This is how the mind talks. I want this, I don't want this. This is nice, this is not nice. So this doesn't change. So you have to act towards it like a child. And then the instructions I give myself in my life and also students, choose the useful actions that you want to do on a daily basis. 5 minutes of meditation every day, little bit of movement, 10 minutes of movement, doesn't need to be an hour and a half practice. I don't know, walk the dog once a day, eat mostly healthy. This on a daily basis, do these useful actions. And then sometimes give your mind the treat or your body the treat that it wants. So if you had a very good day, like you did a lot of useful things, in the night watch 2 hours of Netflix. Be 3 hours on the social media. I don't care. You did such good actions during the day, the whole day, then you can treat the mind with something it likes. But when you treat the mind, you treat it with boundaries, not unlimited joy. Yeah, like 2 hours of what you want, or one pack of chocolate, not 10. So one slice of cake, not all of it. So you do useful things and you treat the mind for a little bit of something you like, and then you have this cooperation, and then we can do very nice life actually that is not too rigid and not too flexible. It goes like very natural.
I feel like I have another confession to make, but you've just made it kind of less um, shameful. In my daily life, I deal a lot with this content and with mindfulness and meditation and spirituality, and at night, just before I go to bed, the last thing I want to do is read a book about mental health or Buddhism, even though I think I should. What I really want to do before I go to bed is to read celebrity news. And it's been like that forever. That's my, it's I don't want to watch Netflix or go to social media. I want to read the most the silliest, most inconsequential celebrity news. And I've always had quite a lot of shame around that and thinking, I'm not a good enough meditator if I'm not reading, Jack Cornfield or Tara Brach's or whoever meditators' books. But I'm going to give myself the permission, if I'm having a good day, to freely read about Kim Kardashian. My God.
Completely, completely. But do it like half an hour, 1 hour.
Yeah, I mean, it puts me to sleep. I couldn't do it for longer. That's what gets me into sleep mode.
You're not gonna, lose nothing because of this. It's gonna be very nice because it will give the mind more motivation the next day to be a very nice mind and to cooperate with you with everything that you want to do. We live in a society that we don't live in an ashram. So we cannot be, and we don't need to be 100% pure. I think it's not the point. Point is to be flexible with life.
So what are the things that you cheat with?
Well, I can drink. I can smoke sometimes. Yes.
As an Israeli, since October 7th and in the year since, and the devastation that is happening in Gaza and the kind of many existential threats that Israel is facing, have you kind of struggled both with your place in the world as a Jew and with, your role as an Israeli?
For me, October 7th opened the door to realizing that I am Jewish because I realized suddenly that I'm Jewish. And then I started to explore more about Judaism, and I discovered how wonderful it is. And I think that when we meet with this 7th of October, it woke up many people, not only me. Suddenly, we can see this movement in Israel happening. More people are starting to explore our history and our religion.
It's extraordinary, and I experienced the same thing, and it's both kind of tragic and curious that's what there needs to be for me, at least, to kind of take on that mantle and that realization and that identity as a Jewish person. What are some of the places or texts or inspirations that you've turned to?
Well, there is one text, is the Torah, of course. I started to read it on the weekly, Parashat HaShavua. And this, first of all, tells us the history of our people. And it tells us all the moral principles, how to live according to them, what they are, and how to live according to them. And then, other than this, there is all the whole Bible, the Nevim and Ktuvim, all of it. And then there are all, of course, all the Jewish thinkers. It's wonderful because when you start reading it, you realize they only talk about how to live according to truth and justice and welfare and all the things that we all wish to have, to be a good society. All of this is written there.
If you wanted to leave our listeners with kind of a quote or a thought or a suggestion for something that inspires you, or a book, or what would it be?
I will say two things. Well, for our own self development as persons to go beyond the suffering, then I would recommend to go and read the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali and to understand there what is the process that we have to do, and to understand it is not so difficult to do the way of who we are and to understand the mind and the thoughts and the feelings, and that there is a very easy way that it is possible to live in this life without suffering. And I just want to say, it's not that we're not going to have difficult times and to be upset and sad and all this. We're going to have all of it, but we will find a stable ground, conscious and aware place inside of us from where we can view life and from where we can act. But I think that in these times, it is actually more important not to just handle our own suffering, because the yoga handles our own suffering, but actually to become more familiar with our Jewish tradition. And for this, I would recommend to read the Torah and to realize that as a nation, we have such a long history and we've been through so many horrible things. But we are the oldest nation that has a book that we recorded all of our history. And if we only give a little bit of time to explore this, we will realize all our strengths. So I think we should connect there a little bit. This is my advice.
What you mentioned about having a kind of stable ground also reminds me of this image of a tree, imagining this ourselves as these ancient, deeply rooted trees, and how, you know, storms and weather patterns might shake our leaves or shake our branches, but you know, there is this deep rootedness that we can return to, and that's an image I really like.
Yeah, this is very good, and this is true for us as individuals, but for us also as Israelis, because our roots go 4,000 years back in history. So we should be proud of it, and we should explore it and to understand our strengths from there, that comes from our roots.
And to never forget our morality. Thank you so much, Galit, for taking the time, for connecting all the way from Portugal. I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much for having me, and it was a pleasant talking to you.
תודה רבה.